Welcome in, everybody, to the final edition of preseason football for the Baltimore Ravens. I am hanging out with DK today. Really looking forward to being with you folks today. But Glenn is enjoying some family time and well-deserved. He's certainly done his fair share of shows by himself. But we are going to dig into a few things today. Of course, the Baltimore Ravens victory. We got to talk about that. We're going to talk about I say we, a lot of people. That's a lot of people. It's really just me here. But DK, of course, is here too, and you guys are riding with me. But we're also going to talk about remaining roster spots, who we think is going to be here. I have a few questions to pose to you guys. Appreciate you guys hopping in. J410, King Blaze, what's going on? But before we get into all this, I got to shout out our sponsor in this show. And, of course, that is ZipRecruiter. Finding great candidates to hire can really be like trying to find an undrafted rookie that's going to make the team. It really is a needle in a haystack type situation. Honestly, if you're in a hiring position, generally you get too many resumes and not enough candidates with the right skills. It's not that people aren't skilled. It's that you're getting the wrong group of people. With ZipRecruiter, that just isn't the case. They help you find amazing candidates, and they help you do it fast. When you have people and open roles, you're losing money every day. Right now, the cool thing is you can try it out for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Their smart technology is pretty awesome. Everyone talks about AI. Well, they've been doing it for a long time. They help you identify top talent for your roles quickly, so you're not out there alone scrolling through trying to find the right candidates, but they bring them to you. Immediately after your post, ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology starts showing you qualified people. And in fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Pretty incredible. You can use ZipRecruiter's pre-written invite to apply message to personally reach out to your favorite candidates and encourage them to apply sooner, which we think is pretty awesome as well. But look, go try it for free. Try it out for yourself. If you guys are looking to hire, or you guys are working for a manager that's got some open roles and you want to look like a rock star on your team, try it for free. ZipRecruiter.com/audio. It's a great, easy way for you guys to support the show as well. And, of course, the smartest way to hire. But with all that being said, let's dig right into it. We are talking, of course, the Baltimore Ravens 31. What's going on, Kali Swerve? Ooh, I think I said that right. CJ Ladder, what's up? Yeah, but we're talking about the Baltimore Ravens' decisive victory over the Commanders, the Washington Commanders, 31-3. Man, my first question at the end of this preseason, not necessarily just specific to this game, and DK and I were talking about this before the show started. The Baltimore Ravens, year after year, and certainly this year it reiterates this, have been so dominant in preseason with arguably playing the least amount of starters. I mean, in comparison to other teams, the Chiefs are like rolling out their ones. And, there's these other guys that'll play a quarter, these other units that'll play a quarter, half. We're not messing with any of that. And we are absolutely steamrolling teams. My question is, how much credit goes to the coaches in this situation and the front office and the players themselves, of course? But I know a lot of people bash John Harbaugh for a lot of things, but I think it would be really hard to say that there's anyone that's better at getting a collective group of people, at building a system, a program in which a collective group of people are learning that system and performing that system at a high level quickly. I think that that's pretty incredible. We'd love to know your guys' comments in the chats. Like, where do you give your credit, right? Is it the front office, just like DPG? That's the other thing, right? You got to draft the right players. But certainly, right, drafting the right players is only part of it. I think that drafting the right players and putting them in a system that doesn't work for them, or having really bad coaches. I mean, we've seen bad coaches ruin players' careers. Ask half the quarterbacks that have played for the Cleveland Browns that think that they were franchise guys and got, dealt a bill of goods, right? There's guys that have gone through the league and had 4 coaches in 5 years, 6 coaches in 4 years. I do a new coordinator every year. And so I do think that there's credit everywhere that is due. But to your point, DPG, I definitely think that the front office deserves a ton of that. I personally think that it's the coaching staff as a whole. I mean, you have to have the players, but man, you got to make it work, and you got to learn how to, you got to teach it quickly, and you got to get buy-in quickly. It's just always impressive every year to see it. I don't know if you guys feel that way as well, but I mean, these decisive victories, the preseason it's a foregone conclusion. The Baltimore Ravens are the best team in preseason every year. I don't think it's because Lamar Jackson is out there slinging it against undrafted rookies. Just not the case. So, wanted to start there and then kind of move through some positions. But we're going to talk, of course, about the potential of 3, if I'm not mistaken. It's Jay Higgins, Keyon Martin, and gosh dang it, if I'm not missing the third guy who's had a really good preseason, defensive player as well. If somebody can help me out here in the chat. God. DK, if you want to throw it in the chat. But there's a potential that 3 rookies, undrafted rookies. Oh, Reuben Lowery. Yeah. Absolutely. Have a potential of making this team. I mean, Higgins looks like he fits right in. All of them look like they fit right in. I mean, let's talk about Keyon Martin, man. Had the pick 6 today. Plays physical, plays fast. Rod Woodson talked about it, but plays with no hesitation. Very confident in what he sees with his eyes. Really looks good as a football player. Ultimately, my question comes down to, is there an odd man out of these 3? And who is it? Or do all 3 make it? I think it would be pretty unprecedented. 3 undrafted rookies make this team. I don't remember the last time I've seen that here in Baltimore. I don't know if the last time I've seen that anywhere, but DK's got something he's going to put up on the screen here for us. You can throw that up there. The Ravens have a good problem when it comes to their roster crunch. Reuben Lowery, we were talking about, Keyon Martin, Bo Bray, Jay Higgins, CJ Okoye, David Ajabo, Malik Ham. Yeah, you're not kidding. Shout out to Kevin Allstriker. Not sure how many of these guys can fit on the final 53-man if you're Baltimore. And it's interesting because, DK, if you want to keep this up for a second here, today, I think that every one of them, unless I missed something, maybe not Bo Braid, but we've seen his name be called and him have moments in other games. But today specifically, each one of these guys had a moment. Malik Ham had the moment on the sack, the fumble, the recovery. I mean, he caught that ball. Looked like, what did Jerry Sandusky say? It looked like Cal Ripken out there snatching that thing off the grass. David Ajabo had another big play today and has had 2 big plays in the preseason. CJ Okoye, look, Coach Evans was in our show, on our preseason show, our pregame show, cited that Okoye looks good coming off the bus, but he hasn't been playing. He hasn't been making plays on the field. He made a play today in traffic, made a stop. And look, that was his third football game, not just professional football game, in his entire life. So honestly, I think that if I had to guess, I think that Okoye is out and on the practice squad, not out, but on the practice squad because of his runway. He's so new. He's so green to this. I think he needs that time to be on the practice squad. Just my opinion. I think that that's the easy one on this list for me. The other ones here, man, this is really, really hard, but I don't know. I think between Malik Ham and David Ajabo, I almost think they're in direct competition, right? They're in the same position group. They do a lot of the same things. It's really tough. So I don't know what you do there. This is why I'm not the GM, but I like Malik Ham because he's a high motor guy. I like that about his game. He's got good hands. He's strong. He's a high motor guy. Ajabo's looked good in the preseason. His problem is always health. So I don't know which way I go there. Ultimately, at least right now, if you're asking me, though, I go Malik Ham. Higgins. So Trenton Simpson made 2 big plays today. I think he had an interception and Simpson had an interception today, I believe. No, let me double check. I know that he had the sack fumble. I thought for some reason he had an interception. I could be misremembering this. Let me see. Simpson, he had 6 total tackles, 1 solo, 1.5 sacks, tackle for loss. No interception. Had 2 QB hits, though. Point is, had a good game today. He's playing in preseason 3, game 3. That is telling in that position battle is not solidified. But I think that he did a lot to remind people who he is. So, man, I don't know what that does for Jay Higgins' standings on the team. Yeah, and then DK, that's another good one. We were talking about him in the last game as well. Jalen Armour-Davis had an interception. Oh, right, from Trenton Simpson's tipping of the ball. Yeah. But suffice it to say, thank you, DK, for putting that up on the screen. Suffice it to say, the Ravens are incredibly deep. Incredibly. And I think that it's impressive what these players have been able to do in a short period of time. Impressive what these coaches have been able to do to get buy-in and to teach. And then also equally impressive, just like DPG mentioned, their ability to draft and sign both veterans and undrafted guys, the right guys that fit with what we want to do here. But don't get it twisted. It's not easy to design all of that, right? Like that is John and his staff. Design the engine that is matching these guys with production on the field, right? Like that's the magic that happens. That and the players buy in and effort, right? That's the sauce. Ravens O's Nation says, can we relax on Cooper Rush now? He was good today. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny, Ravens O's Nation, because he was good today, but in the first 2 drives, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we threw the ball once. I know Ali had one. It was like, I think a check down or just a screen or something of that nature in that first drive. And I think in the second drive was a shorter drive, right? We didn't pass it. But to your point, I mean, he looked composed, looked like a veteran. It's funny to me because today, Leary, of course, Leary is tough part about Leary is he's like me on a pitcher's mound, right? Like every once in a while I can get a stroke of inspiration and I'm out there like Mariano Rivera, right? But then the next pitch, you ask my son, he loves baseball and we're out there every day. This morning we were out there and I'm pitching him the ball. This is his first day with a real T-ball bat, metal bat. We got some balls out there. They're not the hard balls, but like the practice baseballs. I'm out there pitching, throwing him dimes, just strikes, bam, giving it to him and he's hitting them. Next pitch, I just walloped him in the head, right in the head. Like, this is Leary, man. Like, this is what he does. Like, there's some moments where he has a back shoulder, where he rolls out, where he drops it, puts it in a bucket. And then the next throw, you're like, dude, have you ever thrown a football before in your life? Like, geez, a whiz. So, yeah, I mean, he certainly is fighting for his practice squad spot at this point, Ravens of the Nation. I'll agree with you. But I still don't feel great about Cooper Rush because when he was in the game, it was the Ali show and the is it Dearness Johnson? The Dearness Johnson show. I mean, that's really what it was. And that's my other question, right? Is there any way that they keep the 3-headed monster in the backfield and Ali has somehow found his way on this roster? The depth is a real problem, but he looked good. I think he's a surefire practice player. He might be one of these guys that another team sees the versatility. Okay, just plucks him off the practice spot. I'm not comparing him to this guy as far as the peak of his career. But does anyone remember David Johnson before the injuries in Arizona? I'm not saying that he's David Johnson. David Johnson at one point, I think, was like the number 1 draft pick in a lot of people's fantasy teams. I'm not saying that. I feel like he moves a lot like him. He's built a lot like him. And he has a lot of the versatility. And I think he'll continue to get better and more versatile. So I think there's a lot of value to Ali's game. He's a very vertical runner. He has good vision. But he's in a log jam. He's in a log jam. And he is on the struggle bus because I think a lot of other teams, he's the 3rd best back, maybe the 2nd best back. But certainly Baltimore, we got some gifted backs, led, of course, by the future first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion, Derrick Henry, and then the other 2 in Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does get plucked off this practice squad. I think he did a lot for himself in this game, especially in the first half, to kind of carry the load. and do well out there. To Big Cuzzo's point, yeah, Youngblood showed out today. I mean, that's basically all we had out there, and look what they did, right? 31-3, smacked them up. But let's move right on to the kicking game. Tyler Loop, there it is, was perfect today, correct? Let me double check here. Did he miss one again? Let me pull this up. Loop was 3 for 3. No way. Is this today? He had a 61-yarder today, DK. Can you check me on that? He had a 61-yard. How did I saw the 53-yarder, and I mean, where was I during the 61-yarder? Did you? No, I wish I was better at reading lips. I'll get better. Don't worry. Either way, 3 for 3. And the dude is the real deal. I know that the 53-yarder looked like he could have been 12 yards further back. Oh, right. It was the last kick. Yes, and the 53 was the last in the first half. And he like I tell my son when he gets a good hit, he cracked that thing, man. Absolutely cracked it. So, yeah, excited about Loop. There it is. And looking forward to seeing what he can do moving forward. Let's talk about now what's Big Cuzzo, of course, says Youngblood showed out, like I mentioned. Let's talk about this young defense and the disturbances they were all day to the quarterbacks that the Commanders were throwing out there. If I'm not mistaken, every quarterback that they had on the field threw an interception today. That is brutal, including, of course, the one, the only Josh Johnson, who we love, who we credit for being in the league at 39 years old. Talk about finding your niche, man. Doesn't it work in the NFL, DK? The longer that you're in the league, by the time you retire, your payout is more? Like your yearly stipend or tenure or whatever, like what is that called? Your pension or whatever that is. Like, dude, he's got to get something hefty, right? Like, whoo, man. Shout out to Josh Johnson for making himself some money. But shout out, more importantly, to Thomas Graham, who was fighting for a roster spot, went out there, got an interception in the red zone, read it, jumped the route, made it look easy. Armour Davis, same thing. And then we already talked about Keyon Martin. Man, to me, there's only really a few spots that are left, and those are the final corner spots, the middle linebacker position. But ultimately, you could see a world where, I don't know, you could see a world where you have Roquan, of course, Simpson, Teddy, and Higgins. I think that's pretty heavy, but depending on their contributions in the special teams, that could be a possibility. So we'll see how that works out. But the other thing I want to ask you guys about is, what was your take on the different types of kicks on kickoff? The squibs, the knucklers, the side spinning stuff. I don't know if I'm a big fan of it, because I feel like it opens you up to risk and unpredictability. Because if you kick a side spinning ball or a knuckler that's going to bounce, that also leaves your team running down the field. While they may have more time to get there, it leaves them with more unpredictability, right? If that ball takes a favorable bounce towards the receiving team, it could be problematic, right? If it just somehow pops into an area where there just seems to be some space and, some guy's got a dead sprint, that does make me a little concerned. But I also think it's really cool. Like, can you get good enough at it, at whatever your method is? If you have 2-3 of them, like a pitcher, right? Can you get good enough at it and then fielding it, covering that type of kick to where it is an advantage? Because it also stinks to give up 25 yards. Like, here, go ahead. And one of the plays was great. They stopped him at the 15-yard line, and it looked awesome. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on the kicks. What should we do in the kickoff? What are you guys' thoughts? But I want to stay, as you guys kind of walk through that, I want to talk about the special teams. I think undoubtedly the special teams is going to be so much better than it has been in years. There's been a few years where the special teams has struggled, whether it's kicking, Justin Tucker, whether it's punting in the playoffs, whether it's returning kicks or punts. We've had some shaky moments back there. You guys remember who's the dude? Poor guy. He dropped it, I think, last year. James Prochet. You remember those days? Ooh, that was rough. So I'm excited about the special teams. But speaking of special teams, I believe DK has a fun fact for us that I'm assuming he's going to put up on the screen. Yes? Nice. All right. Well, let's do this, DK. NFL players are... Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is Josh Johnson. Nice. Dude, he knew this from day one. NFL players are eligible for pensions if they accumulate three credited seasons and become vested in their retirement plan. The more credited seasons a player has, the higher the payment, baby. Let's go, Josh. So arguably, by the end of this, Josh could be one of the most pensioned players in a long time. I mean, this is season 15, not in a long time, but like in comparison, this is season, 15 for him? I think this season 15. I think last year was 14 for him. Dude, that is one heck of a pension. DK, see if you can find anywhere what that would look like, what his pension payout would be. But shout out to Josh Johnson, man, for going out there and getting it. Now, I don't know if he makes this team. Anytime you're out there in the fourth quarter in game 3, your chances aren't great. But shout out to Josh Johnson. Yeah, what's up, Don C? And Ravens O's Nation, I'm glad you responded back. Anybody else that also wants to respond, please do. Yeah, of course. Not more than Tom Brady. Tom Brady's also not dependent on that pension. He's got plenty of money. He's making more money off Fox than he is in his entire NFL career. So you're right. Certainly there are players that played longer. Joe Flacco, right? Like, what year is this for Joe? I think this has got to be year 18. I mean, he's 40. 18, 19. I know he's a little older because he transferred and things. But, I mean, goodness gracious. Yeah. I guess my point is, like, how many backups hang around 15 years, man, and are on 14 teams? It's really, I hope they do an ESPN 30 for 30 of Josh Johnson one day. But Ravens O's Nation, I think we should stick with regular kicks. Loop and Stout are not Cook and Tucker. Look, I can't believe I'm saying this, but certainly Loop at this point has more leg than Tucker. At this point, like today, right? Like, he has much more leg. I think that may be potentially part of the reason Tucker, outside of the off-field issues that he was going through last year, was struggling, is because if you lose some leg, you start to overcompensate, and they start to hook. So, that could have something to do with that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think to me it just comes. So Big Cuzzo says, I think it's cool. It's cool to be ready for anything on kickoff scenarios. I agree. It's like I'm kind of in between both of you. I think right now, like, I heed caution and get nervous about these things because in a tight game, you do something like this and it's kind of goofy. And maybe you just kind of employ it when you feel like you want to catch them off guard. Or maybe they have a shaky guy or a young guy back there that's shown indecisiveness or struggled with his hands. And maybe you utilize it, right? But becoming overly reliant on it makes me a little nervous, only because of unpredictability, not because of their lack of ability to execute. And honestly, Ravens O's Nation, to your point, I don't know how much of it is, at least on the kickoffs, not the punts, how much of it on the kickoffs rely on the kicker's ability to perform the kick properly as much as it does on the ball bouncing and the coverage team not being able to cover it correctly. That's more my nerves, because ultimately the idea is to create confusion on the kickoff. Is, you just kind of boot it willy-nilly. Not willy-nilly, that's a little bit loose, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say, where you have to be much more precise and strategic, I think, in a punt. Certainly I would say let's just punt regular. We're not Sam Cook here. I would agree with you on that one. But the coverage of it is what I get concerned about. Anyway, all right, so let's move on here and talk about the offense a little bit. We talked about Cooper Rush. We talked about the backfield. And somebody put in the chat 3 position groups that they see. Okay, here we go. Edwin said linebacker, safety, and corner are the 3 positions where the last spot is tough to decide. My counter, or my other, I don't disagree with you. My additional question to that is, are we only really evaluating defensive positions at this point? Is there no offensive position groups that are up for grabs? I mean, obviously we saw Cleveland on the sideline today, so his job is locked, but we also saw Voorhees there. We know that Faalele is going to be the starting right guard. But is there a scenario where a tight end squeaks on early because of Isaiah Likely? Is there a scenario there? Is there a scenario where the sixth wide receiver is Kirkwood? We know that Dayton Wade got injured today. He was unlikely to return. We saw him leaving after the big hit with the, holding the arm. And we hope that that was after, he had a nice catch today. I think a 15-yard gain. Poor Dayton, man. We hope that he comes back and is better than ever. But certainly, I know preseason's been tough for him. So we got our 4 locked, but is Wester a lock for 5? I don't know. Did Kirkwood do enough to pass Tylan Wallace? Actually, I would propose to you, DK, I would like to know your thoughts. I think that Tylan Wallace is more of a lock than Wester. I think a lot of people don't think about that, but I think that's Wester hasn't done enough to say, because Tylan has done it in limited fashion and in big moments in NFL games, right? And that's why we haven't seen very much of him. But Wester certainly hasn't done enough. Well, he had the punt return. That's great. Tylan had a punt return in overtime, right? Or was that to avoid overtime? That was in overtime, right, DK? Yeah, it was in overtime. So to me, putting him in front of Tylan is a bit disrespectful. So I think Tylan is probably 5. And that's a good point, DK. We have enough talent on special teams as opposed to years past to where maybe the special teams gig isn't as important with this roster as is. So let's see here. Let's look at I'm going to go to all right. So, we talked about our 4, we have our locks and then we'll add Tylan Wallace as a guy in there. So that's 5. And you mentioned Wester, we talked about Washington. I never get this guy's right. Is it Gilroy? Something. Of course, we talked about Wade, our guy, Keith Kirkwood, Anthony Miller, who we leaned on heavy last year in the playoffs with Zay out. I honestly don't know which way they're going to go. If I had to guess, I think the 6th guy is Wester. I'm not in love with it. I'm not amazed by it. But I do think that ultimately ends up being the case. Yeah. So if you guys have let me see here if anybody has yeah, thank you, Edwin. Yeah, Tylan Wallace is 5, and I do think they keep 6 because I agree. I just don't know who that 6 is. Is it Wester? Has anyone else done enough to supplant him of that 6th spot? Let's see. I don't know who you're talking about. Sorry, DK. Lowery. Okay. Wester. Yeah. Not because we don't like him. Yeah. Interesting. I'm halfway understanding your point here, but I will yet to be understood. I'm just, look, DK, I'm one head bump away from being a vegetable. Okay. So got to explain it to me like I'm 5. But no, I mean, I think that the Ravens ended the preseason the way that they should, with questions because they have depth in a dominant performance. I think the answers that we talked about at the beginning, I think we have them answered. I think we know that Wester is probably not the punt returner week 1. I think that's fair to say. I don't think he is. I don't. I mean, I think that I would. I don't know. I'd rather trot out Tylan. That's just me though. I think that, so maybe that's not answered, but we know Tyler Loop is the man. We know Cooper Rush is the backup. Devin Leary. I keep calling him David Leary. Devin Leary has not taken the step forward needed to overcome Cooper Rush. We still had the remaining questions at middle linebacker, but I think the cool part here is that it's not so much a question of who or it's really a question of who's going to start because we think that all 3 of them can get it done. which I think is pretty cool. So ultimately, I'm not overly concerned about who it ends up being. We know that it's going to be Voorhees at left guard. I wish it were Cleveland, but it's Voorhees. It is what it is. He'll play for 4 games. You don't hope for this, but based on history, I mean, you got to keep Cleveland. You have to, right? Because Voorhees hasn't shown the ability to just stay healthy. I'm not hoping for his demise by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think that should be Cleveland's job. CJ said it right. Our team is loaded top to bottom. And the other question I think we had answered is, can we do it outside? There's a few outstanding questions, but do we have the guys outside of Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, Jair Alexander? I always forget the other guy's name from the Titans. Cheeto, is that his first name? Yeah. Like outside of those 4, do we have options? And they don't need to be Nate Wiggins or Marlon Humphrey or Jair Alexander, but they need to be serviceable. And I think in that way, we do have answers to that. We know that we have guys that can show up and do it, from undrafted rookies to Jalen Armour-Davis, who has shown some progression in this year. So yeah, man, exciting stuff here. Looking forward to September 7th in Buffalo. I'll tell you what, man, I gotta talk about this for a second, especially because Glenn's not here, so I'm letting my hair down a little bit. So I told my wife this the other day while I was doing dishes. That's right, I do the dishes. It's 2025, ladies and gentlemen. If the Buffalo Bills win the Super Bowl, it's rigged. It's rigged because they don't have the roster, in my opinion. Like, who is he throwing the ball to? Look, I know Kincaid is good. I watched him in college at University of Utah. I think he's good, but I just don't see it. I don't think their defense is good enough. I don't think they're a well enough rounded team. And I don't think that Josh Allen is going to carry this roster past Mahomes, past Lamar, past Burrow. Name the other guys in the AFC. And then on top of that, win a Super Bowl. But the problem that I have here, this is the concern that I have, DK, is that I get nervous about the narratives that are being built. They do Hard Knocks, right? And then they turn around. You see the I think it's a Verizon commercial. Well, I think because Verizon is paired up with the NFL, and the guy that's the flight has been delayed, and and they're all excited because they're at the gate. They're watching the Bills game, and it's like, dude, I don't. And the Bills haven't. I mean, they had. I don't think they've ever won a Super Bowl, right? And they lost 4 Super Bowls. Now they have their quarterback, their savior to bring them into relevancy. And I don't want any of that. I'm not interested in that narrative. Oh, I heard the other day, Dan Le Batard said that the NFL should recognize that the Bills are one of the hottest narratives nationwide. I don't care. He talked about Josh, the former MVP. And every time, I think it's so funny, the coach asked them about Josh not playing in the preseason for the first time. Every time they do this, you know what they start their conversation with? Well, previous, 2024 MVP, previous season MVP. Bro, let's not get it twisted. This is the most fraudulent MVP since, it was more fraudulent than when Adrian Peterson beat out Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning was the All-Pro. But Adrian Peterson, if I'm not mistaken, broke a ton of records that year. I get it. It was more of a rare thing. And his team, as a running back, he was keeping them relevant. He was otherworldly. So, if you don't give it to a quarterback, I can understand why you gave it to AP. In fact, I thought it would have been better to go to Saquon last year than to Allen. Because look what Saquon did for that team. He took them over the top. I mean, absolutely over the top. He took so much pressure off Jalen Hurts. He made that offensive line, who's already great, look so much better. He made that defense, who's already great, play less football. Are you kidding me? And then Josh is the second, I'm using air quotes, I don't even think it's second best player at his position all year. And it's all of a sudden he's the MVP. So I got problems with this narrative around the Bills. I'm not happy about it, not excited about it. And it makes me a little nervous going into September 7th. I'm so excited for the Ravens to get up there and get out to an early lead and get physical with them on defense, and then turn around and give the ball to 22 and just smash them in the face. I mean, I cannot wait. One other story, because I got to get this off my chest. Now that we're done. Look, preseason is over. Glenn and I are going to put out our roster predictions. But I was down at the beach with my family, and I literally was walking. I was walking outside of the car, out to the car to get something. We rented a house. And there's this geezer. He lives down there at the beach all year round, and his neighbor walks over. He's like sitting out by his pool, sitting on his little floaty, listening to his music and whatever, drinking his adult beverage. And his neighbor comes over and he's like, well, what do you think about this football season? He's like, man, I don't know if Lamar can get it done. What are you talking about? He literally said, I lost my mind. I went in the house heated. He's like, well, Lamar, he can't drop back and buy time. He just drops back and takes off. He doesn't let his receivers get open. Hold on a second. We've actually criticized Lamar for going too much east and west, for buying too much time and just saying, dude, you got the best wheels on the face of the planet. Go, just go. Like, we've had anybody that's actually watched the Ravens, we've had the opposite criticisms when Lamar has not been decisive enough. Just go, Lamar. God bless you with some of the best legs on the face of the planet. Hit it. And he's done the opposite, right? And then of course, they bring up Allen. Allen, I like. He can do it. DK, I was in a full sweat. Full sweat. My tongue is bleeding. I just, I'm on vacation. I'm not doing it. I'm going inside. I'm not beefing with some guy I don't know. But I tell you what, man, in a lot of other situations, I would have gone full on. Like, my son Eugene attacks my older son Henry and risks it all every time he does. Full on dives on him, chompers out ready. But dude, I would have been all in on that. My gosh. So anyway, to DK's point, the narrative is going to exist until we beat him in the playoffs. And he's not wrong. We're 0-2, right, in Lamar's career against Josh Allen. We got to get it done, ladies and gentlemen. We have to get it done. So we got a few things. We got to beat the Bills and the Chiefs in the same. Dude, how awesome would that be? That would be amazing in the same playoff run. But this is what we got coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we have this like week off now between. I feel like back in the day, once again, I'm showing my age. Back in the day, it used to be you roll right into the season. Now we have this week gap in there, and so Glenn and I are going to be doing two things. We're going to be doing our roster prediction before final cutdowns, and then we're also going to be doing our final win-loss prediction for the season. So make sure to stay tuned. That's it for us. We're going to, of course, I don't want to dive too deep into speculation about, who I think is going to make the roster and who I don't right now, only because Glenn's then going to use my answers to get his roster right. So I don't want to give him any information here. But I am so excited for this upcoming season. John Jay, the sack total for Oweh only count when the game is in contention. And I saw him carried. I saw him worried about John. Not worried about sacks on backups. Not worried about sacks on Gardner Minshew. I'm not. I want sacks when they matter. I want fourth quarter stops. I want the 2021 September 19th Chiefs game. Yes, September 19th, 2021, 4 days before my son was born. Chiefs game, Edwards-Helaire, strip sack, recovery. That's what it's been since my son will be 4 years old next month. And it has been that long since Oweh has made that type of a play. That's what I want, bro. I feel you. Trust me. We're not doing a Baconator this year. It was too painful. Don't worry. But look, man, let's go. Let's get it done. I'm really excited. But like I said, we're going to be doing a roster cut down prediction, And then we're going to be doing our win-loss predictions. So make sure if you haven't or you don't or you're new, hit the subscribe button, turn your notifications, come hang out with us. We're really going to be ramping up as the season moves on. But that's it for us, and we'll talk to you soon. I'll do the real Raven call now, not the what does Glenn do? He does a seagull. There we go. All right. See you.